So Raw happened. Yeah, hi. Alrighty, folks, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for your early morning late out of date Raw review. Um, yeah. So Roman Reigns is back. I think the show. Unfortunately, Rollins' injury. As much as I'm glad that Roman is back for a little bit, I mean it's just a part-time basis right now. At least, there's, great, Roman's back. That's literally the only thing to make people care about the show. Okay? Other than Roman being back, this show was just not only terrible, a lot of things just doesn't make it much sense. And also, if you really think about it, with Roman Reigns being back now, why is he back if Rollins is injured now? Aside from maybe him, with Braun Breaker. And it's also the problem. This is, the tendency that WWE has right now. This is what they've been doing a lot lately. Why are the baby faces why are they, overshadowing the heels? Or not, what I mean by overshadowing is, why... Or overpowering, actually. Why are they overpowering the fucking heels? If anything, how is it fair when clearly CM Punk and Jey Uso were getting beat up in the main event by two guys? And then Roman Reigns kind of, uneven the odds? This is where, it would have made sense if Rollins, even though he's injured, should have been involved, or at least some other heel. Even Gunther, for Christ's sakes. What? Okay? Even Gunther should have been involved in the main event segment. And then that would have made perfect sense to have at least Roman just came out to even the odds. And that way people would have cared a bit more. That's what I would have done, especially if Rollins was injured. I do think the problem with this show was that they didn't address Rollins' injury enough. I understand that Rollins may not have a lot to do due to his unfortunate injury. But at the end of the day, it would have helped a lot if we actually got it addressed. And it would have, not just addressed, but it definitely would have added some layers even, to the main event. What's going to freaking happen? And, what can we expect? Would Rollins even freaking, relinquish the briefcase? But again, the only thing that we heard was that, Rollins still has till next June to cash in the Money in the Bank. That's literally it. But whatever. I mean, if I can just be honest with you, Roman just being back is the only thing that happened on the show. That's literally it. Nothing much happened on the show, if we're honest. Aside from maybe the Gauntlet. But the Gauntlet, I will say, I'm going to talk about the Gauntlet for sure. But this show was just basically maintenance. This show was just buying timing. We're in 2.5 weeks, and now WWE is just making the matches for freaking SummerSlam, the biggest part of summer. And now we're supposed to care about SummerSlam, which is the first ever 2-night SummerSlam, by the way, MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, which I might try to go to maybe night 2. It depends on the night, and it depends on what's gonna happen. I do plan to try to maybe get a ticket or not. If I don't, it's not in the end of the world. It's just I'm not really a big fan of the, of the modern product. So we'll see what happens from there. But at the end of the day, so Roman came back, and it just doesn't really make much sense aside from Braun Breaker when he attacked him, him getting a little revenge. But he's outnumbering the heels. Why are the baby faces outnumbering the heels? How does that make any sense? It usually should be supposed to be evening the odds, if more important. So I think that's I understand that's a little nitpicky, but it would make some it's a little logical nonsense, in all honesty. And with Rollins being injured, you probably would think is it gonna be Seth versus Roman? You never know. I guess they can always do Roman versus Braun Breaker, or they might just do a tag match instead with Bronson and Braun, the Braun and Raw Security versus Jey and Roman, maybe? I don't know. They can always do something like that, since Punk is gonna face Gunther now. We're going to talk about the show there, but yeah, mostly the show was just whatever, if we're honesty. Let's talk about the entire show, shall we? The show started with Naomi. Usually I don't care about women's, opening the show, whatever, but I will say this, I will give credit where due. Naomi is killing it with her character. I do think like her caution character, and I'm not gonna lie, I like her theme song. I really do. I like her new look. I like her new theme song. You know, good on her. He says, y'all didn't see it, do ya? Y'all didn't see it. I cashed in. I thought I was gonna cash in Tiffany Stratton, but no. Y'all should have never seen it. Y'all should have appreciated a caution. And guys, all of you in the mob roster, y'all should proceed with caution. But like, I'm done with the playing games on SmackDown. Now I'm on Raw, and so I like what she said. I think that was it perfectly fine. But then Rhea Ripley came out. What I did like about Rhea Ripley coming out, and I don't like this is what every wrestler does, is they're singing their theme songs. You've never seen fucking Austin sing his fucking theme song, or Batista, Edge, whatever. Even though the fans are singing the theme songs of Edge. But what I do like about Rhea Ripley tonight or last night, is that she came out and didn't sing her fucking theme song. That's how a wrestler should be. A wrestler should not be fucking singing their theme song. They should either be a little serious or just, walk to the ring, with the game face on, right? And I like that. I like what they did. That's what it should be, Rhea Ripley says, "Oh, you said people should proceed with caution, but I'm not very cautious, and I would, now you're my victim." She wanted to beat Io Sky and win back the title, and then she didn't do it. Now Naomi's on her list. Then Io Sky, who struggles to speak English, she came out. Then basically he's like, I want to go back in line. They all argue. Then Adam Pearce just came out, then basically announces, congratulations, the women, you guys killed it. And I was like, in what ways the general manager would say that? Killed it. Like, that's just being a mark, But anyways, Adam Pearce announces that, hey, screw it, we gotta make SummerSlam the biggest party of summer or whatever, and they decided to make another triple threat with these three, because technically they had a triple threat at Evolution, so it's kind of like a rematch now. In my honest opinion, won't it make sense to do something where it leads to one of them challenging for the title? Or heck, you have 2 nights now. This is your opportunity where, you could do 2 nights where one of them faces the women's champion, and the person of the other, you could always do 2 singles matches at SummerSlam, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? That would have made honestly more sense. I would have said, instead of just a typical triple threat, because after all, you're doing fucking 2 nights for crying out loud. I just felt like that would have made more sense to do. They could have worked around it, maybe some beat the clock type of thing, some idea, to lead to but it's just, a typical triple threat is just kind of predictable, but it's whatever, you know what I mean? So yeah, nothing much happened from there. It's just a one and done segment, which I don't really like, which shows just one and done. I mean, did this need to really open the show? Not really, but it's whatever. It is what it is. This match is announced, and I'm just this is just a buy timing, really. Finn Balor cleans the titles, whoop-de-fucking-do, and then everybody's like, oh, we gotta protect the women and whatever. Dom, protect the women, and you better I don't know. Don't worry, the docs will not care about your injury, which, whatever it is, what it is. The Judgment women, whatever, they defeated the Kabuki Warriors because of Dom Mysterio, whatever. I don't know. That's what it is. This was not shown in America, which goes to show wow, they're not, LA Knight's not probably good enough to be on the actual show. So he was on the international side of the break, because again, if they have breaks in America, so I didn't see this, but this is according to the Wrestling 24 on Facebook. So LA Knight says, I want to hurt you myself, but you hurt your damn self, or whatever. I told you I was going to hurt you, but I didn't get a chance because you hurt your damn self. But, I wish you a speedy recovery. That way I can hurt you myself one more time or whatever. So he, kind of sent his regards to Seth Rollins getting injured. Then Paul Heyman's he was asked, oh, what's the status of Seth Rollins' injury? And he's
I don't have the status of what's going to happen with Seth Rollins, but I gotta advise you, my client, Seth Rollins, he still has a year. He still has a year to cash in Money Bank, so I wouldn't worry so much about the now. I would feel more about the future, but now it's Braun Breaker runs the gauntlet. Braun Breaker will run the gauntlet and beat would go on to become a future world champion. And blah blah blah, and that's our predictions, a spoiler. What I would have liked is what they should have done is more so is like they should have explained why is Braun Breaker in the Gauntlet match, and why is Bronson not wanting to be in because I do think, in my honest opinion, thinking about it, I think a perfect idea now to make sense of what they should do for the future is that maybe Braun Breaker should be the world champion soon. Maybe Braun Breaker should eventually be world champion by the time Seth Rollins comes back. And then that's the way of separating Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. Have Seth Rollins cash in Money in the Bank on Braun Breaker. And then eventually that could lead to their future feud. And eventually they could blow it off at WrestleMania. They essentially kind of what you probably do with Brock Lesnar. Because they're kind of seemingly trying to make Braun, I guess, the next Lesnar, I would say. More so than a lot of people would like to talk about. I do think, have Braun Breaker eventually becomes the champ. By the time eventually Rollins comes back, they can have him beat Breaker. Just out of nowhere, right? Because with Heyman. Even though I do like the idea of Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman, but it looks like, that might not be the case, but I could see that happening. And then eventually, Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins. That could easily be one of the matches they do in the future. Probably WrestleMania, you never know. Maybe Braun Breaker wins the next Royal Rumble. I don't know. Just something. But knowing WWE, they're not going to have freaking Braun Breaker win the Rumble. Since the Rumble's going to be on in Saudi next year. So most likely be Sami Zayn probably, but hey, I don't know. Unless they make Braun Breaker much more of a bigger star for next year, that would be pretty cool. But regardless, that's what's going to happen. Braun Breaker, I don't know. That's what I think might be happening. In the end of the day, man, I do hope Braun Breaker versus Gunther would be probably a good. They sold me on the idea of Braun Breaker versus Gunther, that's for sure. They sold me on that idea. It would have been pretty freaking cool. But yeah, that's sadly not happening. Lyra Valkyria defeated Bayley in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Bayley, I think, got the first fall, and then Lyra got the other 2. This match, Elias Mark's going to pretend he cared about this match. I understand if people like the match because it was long, but it's it's whatever. This match was clearly just to buy time. There was no story in this match, really. Aside from just get it, they want to face Becky and get one-on-one rematch and blah blah blah. I like the ending transition though from Bayley. She was about to go back to the middle with the crossface. I remember they did that with in NXT. She was facing Sasha Banks, and then reversed it to but then Lyra reversed into her finisher. I thought that was a nice little transition. So other than that, it's whatever, The match didn't look like it was too bad. Whatever. Becky Hogan and Dave confront each other. Then we get Stephanie Vacker, who's again hot as hell, invited to the Big Black Couch. All these 3 women are invited to the Big Black Couch, that's for sure. She's in the feud, and I make history. I'm going to become women's champion in Paris. Whatever, then and then Chelsea Green interrupts, who's the better representative from to Paris and whatever, and it's you can look but you can't touch, because I don't know, because she has a match with a Hall of Famer instead of Vacker. We get this. Karrion Kross says, Sammy's a liar. He said he would never leave any or whatever, but I destroyed him. Well, where is he now? He's a coward. And it's whatever. Who the hell cares? The women basically took over the first hour with their matches, which probably explains why. I mean, listen, yeah, credit where due, where the women, they freaking, worked hard at Evolution, but at the end of the day, like, who really cares? You know what I mean? Anyways, Nikki Bella defeats Chelsea Green. The match was just whatever. Nikki struggled with her finisher. Talk about, wrestlers botching. People want to talk about, like, wrestlers like Goldberg botching his move and, freaking, and even Ryback even. Freaking Nikki Bella couldn't even do her fucking move, but whatever, it is what it is. That's besides the point. I mean, we all have those off days regardless. Stephanie Vecchio saves Nikki Bella from the Secret Service. Yeah, not bad. Whatever. Then Adam Pearce says he has plans for the tag titles and the New Day won't get their rematch and how they're mourning, and I just thought this was just dumb. And like, why is it nowadays for some reason wrestlers don't get rematches for their titles? Like, I don't get this shit. Like, we went so like now like we went how many freaking years throughout times that WWE has given rematches like rematch clauses, and now all of a sudden we can't get rematch clauses. At least like a rematch clause gives a little bit of a reason for like a rematch and adds some elements of story. Why the hell are we not doing rematch clauses anymore? And that's just fucking gay, Oh, everybody got to earn a shot after losing. It's like, shut the fuck up. By this logic, Gunther should not have gotten a rematch clause. You know what I mean? Other fucking wrestlers, like, it's just so gay. I'm sorry, it's just so fucking gay. You know what I mean, folks? Then the Judgment Day are informed that they're going to have a tag title, whatever. They have to worry about their future title matches or whatever. And then we see Dom, whatever. He's like, worried about, like, because, I don't know, Adam Pearce says, like, you got into the women's match. You must be getting ready. And then, like, doctors know, blah, blah, blah. It's the same shit without really, like, progressing anything. You know what I mean? Whatever. And then, like, we see basically Dominic and AJ Styles battling, they're basically like battling to appease God, which is kind of funny, I guess. I don't know, it's not really funny, but it's whatever. At least it's like a little bit of like, hey, they're trying to incorporate some comedy, which, is a little welcoming, but I don't really care. Because it's like, there's not really much like excitement in my honest opinion. But anyways, like, I did think it was funny that Styles was like, apparently, like, he's stalking Dominic, but it's like he's praying right now. It would have been funny if AJ was still like kind of doing the whole like, hey, you're feeling better, man. He should have been like giving some gifts. Hey, feel better. Here's something to make you feel better. He should have given us like freaking some like Bengay and stuff like that. Some icy hot and like, hey, it'll help you feel better much faster so we can face each other. Like, that would have been, I would say, like, a little nice gag if they kept doing it. But they didn't do that. We then had this before Gunther coming out to the show. I guess that was a little interesting. They're talking about podcasters. Rusev's interview, how, I took down my biggest foe, my friend, and now I'm going to go to the top or whatever. Then Sheamus up like, you forgot I'm all about buying up the buying up. We're going to have another match. We're going to have a rematch, actually, because you cheated. And it's like, really? Like, can things not just end? Like, there was no reason for this to have a rematch, for crying out loud. What are we doing? And I did see their, like, recap of their match. The match was fine, okay? It was fine. It was a good match. It was perfect to end the way it is. Like, come on, man. What are we doing? This is not like a fucking main feud, for God's sakes. Why are we continuing with that? I don't know. Regardless, whatever. Anyways, Gunther showed up. He says, I'm in a happy mood. I defeated Bill Goldberg. I embarrassed him. No, the only question is, who's next? What's next? We're gonna see who's gonna have me my next challenger. And then but they'll know that just like Bill Goldberg, they can't compete against the ring girl. And then Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman came out. Paul Heyman says, you're looking at the future. You're looking at the next big thing. You're looking at the big dog. You're looking at... basically, he refers to all his past clients as, like, names. Like, the next big thing. The big dog. You're looking at the future of the industry. You're looking at... he's not just a man. He's a Steiner. Which, I like that you mentioned Steiner. He's a man who can kick your ass. You think Goldberg's spear is bad? You never met a spear like Braun Breaker. And then like I was like kind of sold on this. Like, I wanted to see Braun Breaker versus Gunther. Honestly, I think like it would have been cool to see something like this. Honestly, in the future, I wouldn't even mind if this happened at SummerSlam, but the idea of heel versus heel just doesn't make sense, unfortunately, right now. So, and anyways, we saw Penta losing to Braun Breaker by catching spear. Then Braun Breaker beats LA Knight with a spear of his own. Then Jey Uso got pinned by Braun Breaker. With the help of Bronson Reed. For some reason, this match was a no disqualification gauntlet match. For some reason, if memory serves me right, there was never no disqualification as a gauntlet match unless like they actually make it part of the rules. They never even cleared that this match would be like no disqualification except like during the match, which is like got me confused. Anyways, Braun Breaker defeated Jey Uso, so he would made be the last two. But then eventually, Bronson Reed, who tried to help Braun Breaker, Jey Uso came out in the end, and then eventually, with the help of Jey Uso, which it's a little karma to Braun Breaker. CM Punk then hit to go to sleep, and now he's gonna face Gunther at SummerSlam. But then they both get attacked, which kind of is a little even though it's a little unfair. Clearly, one's weakened. I guess that makes a little sense, like why Roman would come to help. But at the end of the day, it's like still like the babyface outnumbering the heels. It should be the other way around, and then the babyface comes out. Maybe Gunther should have showed up in the ring. But yeah, in the main event segment, Roman came out to save Jay and Punk, even though he unintentionally saved Punk, and there's like dissension between them. Like we kind of still don't know where they fall in line, and that's how the show ends with Roman showing up. He picks up Jay. And yeah, like Paul Heyman was like so scared or whatever. Like, oh my god, whatever. So much for this Braun and Braun's tough security, and they're like scared and shit. What the fuck? I don't even know. Whatever. I don't know. They should have made like Braun and Braun more serious, It is what it is. I don't know. So that's SummerSlam for you. I mean, that's so far the build to SummerSlam. Aside from Roman, not much really exciting is going on. I mean, sure, the idea of Punk and Gunther may be exciting, and sure, I guess Punk is doing something big. But it's just like, it feels like, wow, it's like all reversed. Like Punk just had a world title match with the world title. Now he's having a world title match on Raw. It's like, it's all reversed. Like, just because, I don't know. It is what it is. Anyways, so that's Raw for you. Raw was just really more so a boring show, in my honest opinion. Aside from Roman coming back, that's really the clear reason to care for it. Just keep it real. Get your games calls magnificently inspiring. Make the bitches go, oh shit, oh shit. Aside from that, show is just whatever. Till next time, peace. Yeah, bye.